Awesome, awesome. All right, welcome everybody to another workshop here at Pantheon Music Academy. We have Xilla with us. Xilla has been in the music industry for about 9 years. Is that about right? I think going on 10th now?
I think so.
Yeah, sounds just about right. And so with that, Xilla is one of the aspiring house producers here in Houston. He's worked and collaborated with several other artists from Calcium, Dr. Fresh, and Grime Tribe. He's released his tracks through Spotify and SoundCloud. And today we're going to be specifically going over how he does his sound synthesis and his song arrangement, his track arrangement, and one of the tracks that he has. Now, separately, aside from your experience as a producer, you also do certain other types of work, specifically for some of the local venues here. Tell us a little bit more about that.
Yeah, so aside from producing music, I also work for most of the major venues here in Houston. So that includes, White Oak Music Hall, Revention Music Center. I also work for a Seek Group, Warehouse Live, House of Blues, and then also some churches in the middle. And then so how I got started with that is I went to school for about a year. And I was like, well, so I needed a job to supplement my income with, producing, because, producing takes quite a bit of money out of you too, also, if you're trying to get started, as a new producer, as a new artist. So I went to school, and in about a year, I became a sound engineer, and I love it ever since. I mean, it's awesome. Not only do I get to work on music when I'm not working on music, if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
Cool. And also it helps out my knowledge as well, as far as live sound. So if there's any problem that arises, I already know what the problem is, I can fix it. And definitely helps to have those set of skills, especially if you're an artist, because you never know when something's going to go wrong during your gig. And then you don't have time to go find, the tech to fix it, right? So you should do it yourself.
Very cool. Very cool. Well, without further ado, thank you for the background knowledge, and it's fascinating. Once again, producers that join us at our workshops, they come from all walks of life. Some of them are heavily invested in the industry, some not as much. But one of the things that really stand out is that the amount of time that you've been doing production is how long exactly?
I'd say about probably 6 to 7 years.
Okay.
No, actually, way longer than that, because I wasn't able to. Probably 12 years. Honestly.
Okay. All right. So already
working on production, alone.
Very cool. Well, we'll let your tracks speak for themselves. I was about to get a little bit ahead of myself, but without further ado, go ahead and show us the track that we're going to be working on. We're going to be doing a track breakdown today. And so we're going to be working off of this particular track. Is that the project name Birdie, or is that the name of the track as well?
So the name of the track is called Birdie. I just kind of got lazy with naming it. I don't know if that's going to be the exact name for it yet. It just kind of has a birdie vibe to it to me. This is a work in progress track that I'm working on right now. It's a very tech house and bassline influences in it too also. And this is the bare bones of the track. So I want you guys to help me with it. And we're going to finish this track in an hour.
All right, let's hear it.
Okay, so this is what's starting off right now in the first. Basically, it's about, about 4 minutes and 40 seconds. Typical tech house is about that, or maybe longer. So it's very repetitive. Basically, to make a good tech house, you definitely want repetitiveness, but you also don't want it to be boring at the same time. So with tech house, there's a lot of adding and subtracting, things, instruments, synths, everything. Everything is just adding and subtracting and seeing how well you can just grab the audience's attention and hold it for as long as you can. So before I start the track, the best way to go about starting a tech track is start off with making your basically essentially your drop. It's not technically a drop, but it's basically everything, every instrument, everything you're using, the meat of the whole song needs to be made first, and then you just have that whole thing, and then you just add subtracts and just kind of like spread it out. You know what I'm saying? For the whole track. And then that's pretty much the bare bones of it. And that's what I have right here. So without further ado, I'm going to start it right here. So we got some drums coming in. Very groovy. Got the bongos. Here's my got a speaker in there. So I had a auto filter.
Hey Jake,
Yes.
we can't actually hear you over the music. Let's hear the track first, and
cool.
then we'll just have you once
sure.
once there's silence. We'll hear you afterwards.
Yeah, my bad, guys. Okay, cool. So I'll just start from the part where all the drums are in here. Okay.
Very cool.
Very cool. Now that you guys heard the whole track, now what we're gonna do? Sorry, can y'all hear that?
No, you're still good.
I think they're doing something annoying. Okay, so let's go ahead and just dive right in, guys. So, let's start with the intro. Right about here. So here's the intro. What do you guys think about the intro? Let's go ahead and get some feedback, and let's get some ideas flowing.
Cool. Martin and Jonathan, you're welcome to jump aboard. Okay, I'll bite. With the very first intro, like, I guess ultimately you had talked about like building a track starting from the drop and then using subtraction in order to kind of put together or piece
Right.
the intro, the bridge, and then the outro.
Yes.
Okay. Well, one of the things that I noticed is like specifically, like I know that you have some vocals going. Maybe you'll also have a bass line going. Let's hear the intro one more time, maybe just a couple seconds of it, and see.
So to answer your question, this right here is what I started with. This is basically what I started. So take that, add another 2 measures, and you got a phrase.
Right.
And so after that, then I move it to about right here. I start picturing out the whole structure of the track. So now I'm thinking, okay, so let's do a 24 bar intro with, you know, a bar, kind of like a build up or a breakdown, whatever, introducing the bass part, and then the drop, which should be ultimately long. So let's go ahead and go back to the intro.
Mm-hmm.
Here's the intro again. The rhythm part of the intro. Which would be the introduction of the bass line. So basically how I started that was I just took a kick and I kind of made it into this fashion right here, which I got from, now the whole pattern of this drum style right here, like kind of like 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So that double kick at the very end, I've gotten that from, actually my biggest inspiration for that would be Deadmau5 for sure, because of all his songs that are like that, they always have that double kick at the very end of the measure, which is very cool. It's very like dancey and it gets you like grooving, you know.
Mm-hmm.
Then so during that section I have this shaker and these bongos. Now I could do without the shaker, honestly, because it is kind of a little bit too much. So I think without the shaker, it sounds a little better. Probably sounds a little better. my kick, I have an auto filter and a reverb, and that's all I got on that one. It's in the key B. So basically, what I have got going on right now is my auto filter. So it's set at 238 hertz. So it doesn't have any low end, but it's still got a little bit of spiciness to it, a little bit of salt. And then do that for about a whole measure, and then bring in the bass. Boom, boom, boom. That extra salsa, you know. Okay, so and then so I got the bongos going. Don't really have much on the bongos, just the auto filter for when it gets to the breakdown part. So basically what I'm trying to do is, even though everything's kind of the same thing, repetitive over and over again, I'm adding little bits of sound design. And I wouldn't really call it sound design. It's more of like, more borderline mixing, to be honest, just to keep things fresh so your ears don't just be like same thing over and over and over and over again, right?
Right.
In the beginning part, it's no bass, just the kick drum and the bongos. And then the next measure, you add
Shakers.
in the shakers, the bass, and then also you add in the drone doesn't come until later, actually. So yeah, right here. Now you're captured. And I try to do things, I try to mix it up every measure I can. That way it's something new and it feels right. You know what I'm saying? Like you anticipate something to happen once you hear it over and over. You're like, okay, this is where this should happen. And it does happen. And then that's what makes it more fun for people. You know what I'm saying? So after that is now the whole rhythm section. With the drum behind it. Now I do have to fix the drone just a little bit. It still sounds kind of a little bit out there. What I got going on right now is it's just a very basic patch, initialized. It's just a saw wave with a noise behind it. Then I got a low filter. Basically, it's automated with this LFO. But I have it turned all the way up because it sounds kind of weird with it. The rate of it. Let me solo this real quick. So that might sound kind of weird coming out the gate like that. I'm not married to it, so it can change. So next up, we have the breakdown. So the breakdown introduces the sub, introduces the bass line, and it's also kind of a little hybrid build-up. It's not very massive. It doesn't go into like a big ass drop. It's just it's just something to make you realize, okay, this is where the meat of the song is. Okay. So do I got any questions so far?
I think as far as arrangement is concerned, I think it's very straightforward.
Very straightforward.
I'd like to continue, like, I guess, following your thought process on how you go about by actually picking the tracks, or I should say the samples or the sounds that you use in order to put this track together into a cohesive piece.
So how I go about that is basically what I do is 9 times out of 10 I always start with the kick. So my whole thought process is, okay, this whole measure right here, I got a kick going on, or actually right here. This is my kick. Start with the kick, and then I'm like, okay, what's next? Next, I gotta add some percussion. So then I just go through some samples, find the ones that I like, and then sometimes I'll keep it Other times I'll use it as reference and I'll make my own pattern. Most of the time I tend to make my own drum patterns. So this being a work in progress, there's a lot of things in here that are probably going to change. So the drum samples that I have on here, they'll probably get remade into original samples. This would be just inspiration for me for later, you know what I'm saying? So, and that's how I go about it. So my whole thought process is, okay, so I start with the drums. Next, I start with percussions, hi-hats, snares, basically get a whole pattern together. And then once I have the whole pattern together, then I can start picking pieces of it out, adding new pieces of it in, start making the whole bones, the whole structure. So, and that's essentially what I did here. Was I started with this little phrase right here, and then I pretty much expanded it to about 4 minutes and 30 seconds. So now we're going to move on to the baseline introduction part. So basically what I have there is I just have a serum, just a fat sub I got going on. And then as for the effects part of it, of serum, I have the attack. I'm just automating the attack of it to make it kind of, lively, but it doesn't happen here yet, not until the drop part of the track, because here I just want to introduce it to the person so they can get familiar with it, So that's just the pattern that it's going to, and then so that's going to continue on to the hybrid buildup that I have. So pretty much it's just a little chant right here for maximum D house. Just kidding. But it's there just to be cool, And then right here it's just white noise. And then this is the uplifter. So it goes down and then back up again. Right here, I got a little effects preset going on right now. It's literally just this. So basically, what that's doing is just that's being automated by this LFO, which is going to this wavetable position. The second LFO is going to the level, the volume of the oscillator, and that's being set at 32 hertz, which is pretty fast. So it's giving it that, you know what I'm saying? And then LFO 1 is being sent to a matrix. Basically what you do is just you set it to LFO 1, global master tune, and then that will go up or down. Wherever you want it. I use this a lot, honestly. It helps me out so much. It's so fun to use. It's awesome. Then I got a little pre-drop phrase. Literally just like something that I have. Kind of cool. And then I was talking to you guys earlier about my vocal channels, so what I put on there. So I got the OTT, the 8-band equalizer, the glue compression, and the my favorite, fake dub room, which is really cool. It's in the echo part of audio effects. Basically, you just go down to echo, clean delay, and fake dub rooms right there. Basically, it's just like a delay reverb hybrid. Really cool to use instead of having to use a reverb and a delay. Like at the same time, you can just use this one plugin, which does it all for you. Okay, so let's move on. So to the drop part of the section. So as you can see, everything's happening differently. And this time it's not every one measure, it's every two measures now. So that is for, yes. So every two measures, there's something new. So what I got going on here is I got the drone synth, which I'm not married to. I'll delete it if I wanted to. I don't know if I'm liking it so far. I got this little vocal synth stab. I'm not married to it either. Maybe it could use something a little bit more, I don't know, edgy. But everything else I'm pretty happy with. I got the high bongo here, which is going to act as my, I don't know what you call it, a drum fill. Yeah, drum fill. So after each, I believe after every two measures, there's going to be that drum fill going. Next up, we got the snare and the clap. I have them both together. Oops, my bad. Here. On the snare, everything. Basically, what I like to do on my whole rhythm section of the drums, which would be like my percussions, hi-hats, anything except the kick, really. Everything goes into a group, and then that group is compressed. And then I sidechain that to the kick, so it gives it more feel, more groove. Like it's not just the same volume all the time, you know? Because that's what really gets people like zombify, like, okay, like we've heard the same, like if you listen to house, it can get super repetitive. So this is why I stress, very importantly, if you're gonna make drum patterns, I would highly suggest grouping all your percussion, all your hi-hats, your snares even, anything you can that's not a kick into a group, compress it, sidechain that to your kick. That way it gives it groove. Or if you don't want to do that, it is no problem at all because you can do this. You can do track delays, which is something I've been getting into lately. Basically, the whole process of this is you can delay your samples hitting by milliseconds. So you can go ahead as many milliseconds as you want or behind as many milliseconds as you want. Essentially, this humanizes your drum pattern more. So, and that's very good, honestly. I like to use that a lot. But here, I just have it simple. I just have it sidechained to my kick, which is like a simple way to do it. I got the white noise down lifter coming back in here, and then it's going to head into a another synth that I have on here, Portamento. This is, I think, stock. So this is a stock Ableton instrument. Do I have any questions so far? Nope. Okay, moving on. So basically, so after that, I got this little portamento thing going on here, and then that's gonna go all the way until I hit the little break part of the section. What that does, why I put that there, is because after you heard that whole drop part, just the drums, the percussions, the hi-hats, the snares, the bass line, all the effects to go with it, the bells and whistles, I put like one little measure of just like intro on there, so that it basically tells the audience like, okay, there's a break here, so just chill out, relax, and then it's going to come back in. So your ears aren't overwhelmed, which is the same thing over and over again. You guys know? Cool. Reading your guys' comments right now. Okay, here we go. Okay, cool. So I guess that's why I couldn't hear anything, because we're in the comments. Hi, guys. Okay. Okay, so how do I make my risers pumping and breathing? Okay, so basically what I like to do for my risers, so basically this is just a sample that I've been using, but if you want to learn how to make risers that kind of breathe, I think this. So like basically what you do is hold on, let me pull it back up again. Okay, so let's say we're here. Let me just initialize this then. Initialize preset. All right. Initialize. That's what it sounds like. So basically what I'll do is I'll send this here, and then I'll create another LFO tool, which sends that here, and then make like a pattern so it breathes. Send it to about like that. Then here, LFO1, go to matrix, LFO1, excuse me, global master tune. Slow this down, let's say about a bar. Trigger it so it starts at the 1 every time. And then put this to about, let's say 20. That's going down, so let's go up. Let's go 4. Too fast a little bit, so bring it back down to 4 bars. Yeah, there you go. That's a what do you call it? Riser for you. Did I answer your question, Martin? Cool. Okay, cool. I'm glad you saw that. Let's see, Martin. LFOs add a lot of moment in the sound. Do you ever convert audio drum samples into a drum machine? No, I don't. I don't particularly use drum machines a lot at all. I just kind of just use the sample, just how it is. The only time I will use a drum machine is to make my own drum fills. So if you guys want to learn how to make a quick drum fill, I can show you that like super fast. So I'll insert a MIDI, okay? And then I'll go to instruments. I'll go to drum rack. Okay, so now I'm in my drum rack, right? Let's make like a quick Here we go. Oh, what was this? Oh, shit. I actually turned that into a drum rack. My bad. Insert a MIDI. Make this a drum rack. Boom. There we go. I'm going to create a MIDI clip right here. So this MIDI clip is literally just going to be like, create the drum fill right there in that area, okay? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to my samples, right? And then I'm going to pick random shit, all right? So let's go to drum run shots. Let's go to snares. Actually, no. Let's go to percussions. Let's go to low percussions. Let's add all of this in here. So I just got a bunch of random percussions now, all right? Should load in pretty soon. It's taking this time. There we go. Okay, I'll lower this a little bit too. So now what I like to do is I go into the keyboard area, the piano roll, whatever we call it, and basically just literally copy the same thing over and over again for the whole measure. So fill it up all the way up, just like this. Now here comes the fun part. So when you play it, it should all play at the same time, right? Yeah, it all played at the exact same time. Now, here comes the fun part. Now that it's a MIDI channel, you can go to MIDI effects, add an arpeggiator to it. Boom! Did I just blow you guys' minds? Because now you get free, like simple, like drum fills that you can make with anything. Give me 1 second, guys. Hold on, sorry. Boom. Okay, so you can make drum fills anytime you want, literally in 2 seconds. The only problem with this is that it's random, so that if you want a good drum fill, you gotta have to record it, record your drum fill, and then use your own sample. So just choose random. Straight's fine. I'll make it go a little bit faster. Let's do 112. There we go. Random drum fills that you can use. And you can add not only just percussions, you can add kicks, snares, crashes, bass stabs, synth stabs, whatever your heart desires. Put that in there. Put an arpeggio on it, set it to random. Make the rate 1 1/2 or 112. That's it. You can set the gate a little bit to make it more open, or you can set the gate closed. So now, easy stuff. Okay. So does anyone else have any other questions I'm going to go over before we get started on some other stuff? Any questions at all about structure, sound design, drums, anything? Cool. Okay, good. I'm glad everyone's caught up. Yes, that little drum trick is super, super, super like clean and easy if you're gonna pinch. If you need a quick drum fill, boom. Easiest thing you can ever do. So we're moving on now. I'm gonna start playing. I'm gonna start from the build-up part, and then we're gonna listen to the drop again. Okay. main bass phrase that I have going on right now. Literally, it's just a fat sub, and then I have it automated to its attack, so that every time it hits this, it'll just kind of like whoosh in there. So it'll be like whoa, like a wave almost, and then here it's a wave, but then it like cuts off, so it's like a dip. So it's like boom, it's like a little dip. And that's what I got going on there. I got these little boxes going on right here. This little like chants, literally from like a Lex Luger pack. Like, you know, there's a lot of like hip hop stuff in here too also. So does anyone have any suggestions of what I should add? So I'm thinking like after this part, after this whole phrase, right here, I should add something like real, like right here, actually. Right here, this one, I should add like, I don't know what I should add, honestly. I should add something like crazy and wobbly. So let's start. Let's go to serum. Cool. Okay, we're in serum. Lower this a little bit. Yep, it's good volume. Okay. So let's go ahead and start. Let's do. Pretty cool. All right, so I'm going to automate this. Let's not set it on trigger, so it's just random every time you click it. Set the bar down a little bit. Cool. Okay, now let's add something else to it. Let's add. Oops, my bad. Do this. That's pretty cool. So maybe let's do the volume for this too. Not like. Liking that a lot. So we're going to automate this cutoff. All right, cool. So now I got a simple like. So now let's add this. Let's do. I really like that little, kind of like that little thing. Okay, so boom, 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 boom. So, oh, my bad, it's too low. Okay, let's do this. So, yeah, and then boo, 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 and it's in the key V, so this is perfect, perfect. I'm gonna take this guy out. Okay, cool. So. got a little sum going on right now, which is not too bad. Let's try this. And then boop. Doop. And then I might add something there. So we got a little pattern right here. Now I'm going to duplicate that thing. And then this guy, let's see here. I'm going to put this guy on and put this guy on. So now we got, now I'm going to make the separate sound right here. Let's see. Did I ever play a musical instrument? How do you figure out what key you are working in? Yes, I did play musical instruments, but I have the kick. I always tune my whole track to the kick. So my kick is in E. So everything has to be in E or in the key of E. You know what I'm saying? I also use the circle of fifths a lot. So I do use the circle of fifths quite a bunch. So next up, let's make another one. Let's see, let's use maybe like a dubstep thing. But let's turn. That sounds pretty cool. I'm going to turn it down though. That sounds pretty dope. So now we got this going on. All right, so now I just gotta add one more thing. I just gotta add the I gotta add the fill now. So the fill's gotta go right here. And it's gotta be this big. Yeah, okay. So that works, I guess. Let's make a new one. Change this out a little bit. Let's do like. Not sure if I like that. See if that works. We'll have to figure something out with it yet. So how do you tune your kick? There's a couple ways. I like to use this VST called Kick 2 by, I think, Tony Romero, by Sonic Academy. Tony Romero, I think, made this with Sonic Academy. Basically, you can pick between a bunch of different kicks. Oh, you know what? I wonder if y'all can see this.
We can see it.
Okay, cool. Thanks. Thank you. So basically, you can tune your kick however which way you want. You can set the pitch of it, the length of it, pretty much anything about it. It sounds super cool. Super low. Hold on. There it goes. Like, you know, I like to use that a lot. Or you could just buy samples of kicks, or I mean, there's free ones also you can do. They should have the key that it's in, and then if you transpose it up or down, it does change the key to it. So you actually have to know how many clicks you have to do to transpose a key to another key, basically.
Right.
So it's a little bit of math.
To expand a little bit on what Xilla was saying, a lot of really quality sample packs will already have the kick, will already tell the key that it's playing in. And then exactly as Jake says, transposing is as if you have a piano in front of you, or actually have maybe some set of keys in front of you, you'll get an idea of how many semitones you have to go up or down. And then based off of that, you'll be able to move your key that's might be like the E to D or to whatever other key that you want to make sure that your track is playing under. I think that would be a very, very particularly useful topic to cover at another point. It's not too difficult, but if you don't know how to do it, it will make your track sound for some strange reason just completely totally off, and that reason being that it's just out of key.
Yes, I 100% agree. If your track is not in key, it does not sound good. And then I can totally cover that in another segment too. Also, I can go over circle of fifths and music theory, because I have books and books of it. I mean, and I'm not the greatest at music theory either. Like, it's hard, trust me. Like, if you don't get music theory, do not doubt yourself. You'll get there. A lot of people struggle with that. It's very hard. It's a language itself.
It is. We're approaching the last couple of minutes. Just about 5 minutes remaining.
Let's open this up for questions, please.
Yeah.
I want to know what your thoughts are. I want to know what you think that you need help in, and let me try to help you.
As we're waiting for questions to come in, I think as a fun little tidbit, through Fruity Loops, you have the ability of using Edison in order to actually determine the pitch of your kick. And by doing so, you'll be able to find out, let's say that, you have a sample that you have no idea what key it's in. You can then put that sample, run it through Edison, and then you'll have an option of being able to check the pitch that it's in, and then it'll tell you the frequency that it's hitting. And so that's a really easy way of being able to determine, once again, what keys your drums are in.
Yes. And Martin says, I agree, key was hard to get as a non-musician. Ableton has a tuner in utilities. He's right. There is a tuner in utilities. And it doesn't always work all the time, especially when you're making growls. If you're doing dubstep, it's kind of hard to determine what kind of key that is in, because it's very distorted. But the utility is there to help you, the tuner. So it's very helpful. Thank you, Martin, for pointing that out. And yes, so basically music theory is pretty hard to get into. It's, especially if you're a non-musician, it could sound like gibberish and total alien talk. But my best bet for you to approach music theory is to learn circle of fifths, because it's very fundamental and very basic, and that'll get you started where you need to go for sure. Also, learn your ABCs, D, E, F, G. And that's it. It only goes to G. It doesn't have an H. Chords are still effing with me. LOL. Progression. Yes. Progression is the key. Always progress. Don't ever just stall and stay where you're at. It's always better to have a repetitive track that progresses than it is to have a repetitive track that does not progress at all, because that can get really boring.
I think that there's a point to be made specifically when working with key. Now, generally, you definitely want to make sure that regardless of the genre that you're in, that you are always in key. There are some tracks in where sometimes key doesn't matter as much, and that step, and where all of a sudden the distortion plays a very, very big role in the human ear not being able to determine whether or not something is in key or out of it. So with that said, whether you're producing or DJing, I can't help but to recommend that you're always producing and that all your samples and tracks are in key as much as possible,
Yeah.
because it makes a gigantic difference in cohesion, and just something sounding right. I mean, it could be the right, it could be at the right place at the right time, but if the sample or the track is just out of key, something's going to sound wrong with it, and people won't even be able to explain why, unless, of course, they're a trained musician. They can recognize that something's out of key.
So another thing that Martin points out is biggest thing for him is the balance between keeping a house stubby and repetitive while making changes enough to keep it interesting, which brings up a very good point. Balance is key. Like, I mean, having your track in key is very important. There's a lot of little important things that you need to keep in mind. So balance is another big one for me. Keeping your track balanced can make or break your track, even if it is in key. You know what I'm saying? So like your track could be perfectly in key, perfectly just transition so smoothly, but if the balance is not there, it can sound whack. You know, because like, let's say if your kick is stupid loud and your vocals are like you can barely hear them, like you're not gonna have a track whatsoever. Like it's gonna be, you're gonna need to fix it fast, because the best thing you can do, and my tip for balancing tracks is have your master at -6, and that's what I do usually. I know some people have it, you know, in different thresholds, but I like to have it at -6. And then what I'll do is I will change to the mixer view in Ableton, and I will change everything down to -6 as the baseline, and then I'll go from there, and then I balance. So right now I have my kick at -4.8, and then my percussion stuff, that's all at like -12, 10. My shaker's at -24. There's not a single thing in here that's at unity except this serum, but I don't think it's on. Everything's at -10, -1, -9. It just depends on the track.
Very cool. Xilla, super thrilled that we had you with us today. We are at about that time. So with that said, I know that you have a show playing up tonight. What other upcoming either events or tracks should we be on the lookout for?
So I do have a track coming out soon. It's called Vacant Minded, and it's very heavy in bass. It's a, can't really describe it. It's a house track for sure, though. I think y'all like it. But it's coming out pretty soon. I still got my Days track that I gotta still do some promo and keep that still going. So if y'all like Days, and if y'all like my music, go to that SoundCloud and click follow.
Cool. And just to make sure, what SoundCloud can we follow you at? How can we find you?
It's gonna be soundcloud.com/ZillaStuff, XILLASTUFF.
Very cool. Xilla, Jake, it's awesome having you with us once again at Pantheon Music Academy. Thanks so much for your time.
Thank you. I'm very happy I'm here to help, because I love to help people.
Cool.
Next time for sure I'll go over music theory for you guys. I'm super happy to be here with you guys.
Sounds good. We love that. All right, guys, for everybody else, thank you guys so much for joining us at another workshop for this week. Next week, we have DJ tutorials in the green room with Martin. And the week after that, we'll have a special guest doing a special workshop with us. That about concludes our night. Thanks, everybody, for joining, and we'll tune in next week.